Research design begins with a finalized research question and also a little bit of theory to go with it. So let me explain this. First of all, you have started, or researchers basically start at some point. They have a topic they're interested in. They develop a research aim or objective, the aspect of that topic they want to explain, right? I usually think of it as determining what their ultimate dependent variable is, at least at a conceptual level. And you then do the lit review, right? You look at what exists and you find a research gap, right? And so your research question should emerge from your literature review as a focused question on some aspect that hasn't been addressed or is an opportunity to expand. And it might be that you're, looking at some particular extension, you're looking at a case that hasn't been considered. Maybe you're looking at a debate that you're trying to resolve. But your research question needs to be rooted in that literature. It should also be a question in general that deals with a relationship between variables. As a social science, we like to talk about causality, and so we like to see causal relationships, at the very least correlational ones, and frequently we think there's a causal relationship. We can only observe correlation, right? We can't observe causality. But the point is, we should have variables, and we should be moving into a zone where we have a dependent variable, the thing we want to explain, and explanatory variables, which will be operationalized perhaps into independent variables. But we want to have a question that relates in some way to a cause and effect relationship. It isn't strictly a descriptive question, like what happened here. We want to say, does this cause that, right? That means we need theoretical propositions. Now, get your mind away from realism, liberalism, all those things that you had a course in, right? When we are talking theory, we're talking causal explanations of the world. And in the in the lit review, you came across a bunch of them, but no one presented them. Or they might not have been presented as theories. They might have just been presented as explanations or conclusions. But anytime anyone says this happened because, or as a result of this thing, this other thing happened, they are laying out a causal relationship, a theoretical proposition. And at this point, you should be not just posing a question. You should have a answer in mind, right? This is often what's called a thesis statement. And now I believe that term, or I feel that term is more at home in humanities, but it will get used at various times. I like to talk about having theoretical propositions, or just think of it. Hey, you got a research question. Here's a theoretical answer to it, right? It's theoretical because it talks in terms of causality, but it is conceptual and generalizable, but we need to then be able to test it, right? And that's what your research is about. You pose a question, you look at the literature, you find out what an unanswered question is, you look at that question, and then you say, what are the potential answers to it, right? That's your theory or your thesis statement. You say, here's one that I want to test, right? Now you may not have a thesis statement, and you may never use that term in a paper, but you might say, hey, theoretical propositions, or we have theories. We'll definitely talk about those. And once you have those, what we need to do is make sure that you're posing a question in a way that is empirically answerable, right? That is to say, or testable, right? That is to say that we are describing processes, and we're posing questions in ways that can be answered by looking at facts. So we're getting specific enough about context, about what we're looking at, that we can then go in and say, all right, we can answer this question by looking at facts or data. And of course, how we do that is what research design is about. But like I say, it starts with this finalized research question and a theoretical proposition about what the answer to that question is. When you've got that, you're ready to start talking about what type of research design to use.